Okay, welcome everybody. Second attempt to today's Empowered Women's Coaching Call. I'm so excited to have one of my favorites and my bestie, Jess Shembry, on today to share how everyone is going through something and how we can thrive through adversity. I think that it is so easy to really get caught up in comparison. And I know Jess has been sharing a lot around this with her audience. It's been coming a lot with my own audience, is how we get stuck into comparison, especially with social media these days. I think it's so easy to see everybody's highlight reel and the smiling faces and the filters. And as you said before, Jess, everyone's perfect smoothie morning, and to really compare your life and what you're going through. I think that it is really interesting that no matter what your past is and what challenges you've been through, there's always someone that we know or that we hear of who's overcome the most incredible adversity beyond what we can even imagine. And they've gone on to be successful and happy. And I think so many of us wonder, what is the difference between someone who's able to thrive through their adversity versus someone who chooses to become a victim of their past and really just goes through life, letting life happen for them. But I believe, and I choose to focus on my worst moments, being really the raw material for my future success. And quite honestly, and I know you guys know this because I really try to be vulnerable and authentic, and I know you do too, Jess, but it has been the most incredibly challenging year of my life. And I've gone through so many lows this year, but there's been a lot of ups as well. And I can honestly say that I feel freer than I ever have before. I feel more connected to myself. I feel more sure of who I am, more in love with myself, more inspired. And I've grown more than ever because of these challenges. And that's been such an incredible gift because I've chosen to grow through, as the saying goes, grow through what you go through. And I could either have laid down in fear and scarcity through these challenges, or I could choose to rise to the challenge and grow. And that's really what I've done. And what I've learned is it's not the situation that causes our unhappiness. It really is our thoughts and how we choose to respond to the challenges that come up in our life. And I think that we cause so much stress, and I certainly have at times in the past 12 months, we cause so much stress focusing on what we're losing when we have to let go of things that aren't serving us, rather than focusing on the things that we get to gain because of those challenges. And I was just sharing on our other live before, there has been an incredibly overwhelming sense of loss for me in my life over the past 12 months. And if I chose to focus on all the things that I felt like I've lost, I've had a marriage breakdown. I have, now I have to share my children 50-50. I've lost friendships. We've lost two of our beautiful pets over the past month. I've felt, a lot of betrayal in my life, and just so many incredible challenges and some of my greatest fears. But I know it sounds so cliche, but there's been so many gifts in this and so much growth in this. And when I focus on the gifts, when I focus on the growth, that stress goes away. And I just feel so much more empowered. I get to take my power back. And I guess that's what we want to talk to you guys about today, is how you can step into your personal power, no matter what circumstances life is throwing your way, what tools, what resources, what routines, the things that Jess and I get to do that really cultivate inner peace through these suffering times. And we're also going to talk about what it means to ask yourself quality questions, because you hear that thrown around a lot in the personal development world. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions that you ask yourself. So what I do know is you cannot be committed to your own bullshit and your own growth, right? And I know for myself, it is one of the biggest reasons why I choose to grow is I got sick of my own bullshit and I got sick of myself, right? Holding on to my crap. So I was really ready to let go and move forward and to really be able to respect and fall in love with myself, I think. And this is my number one driver for the work that I do, because I like to feel good about life and about myself. So the amazing Jess from the Abundance Hub. Jess, I know you've been talking about how everyone is going through something. I know you've had your own challenges in life coming up and you still show up and serve at the highest level. So, what is this, to begin with, what does this mean to you? Everyone is going through something.
Thanks, Kira. Yeah, look, I mean, I think it is really important to let you guys know that I see social media as such a beautiful opportunity to share, and sometimes we really focus on all of the great things, and I think that's awesome. But I definitely feel that at the moment we are attracting and moving towards more authenticity every single day. And so I never share my challenges, and I know that Kira's the same, for sympathy or for, are you okay? We need support. It's more because I definitely believe, and I want to point out that this is not something that happened overnight. This is not something that I've always been able to cope with as well as I do now. But now that I'm able to, I feel compelled to share how I'm able to cope, if that makes sense. So, but I think people really do want to know they're not alone. And so when it's, everyone is going through something, it can be really difficult to connect and to feel as though anyone that you look at, especially on social media, or even your friends, like if you're not connecting with your friends and family on a regular basis, which can tend to happen when you're having a hard time, you can tend to go into a bubble and you can feel really alone. And so understanding that everyone is going through something can help you move past and through the problems quicker. But also, one thing that I spoke to my audience about last week was that it kind of is naive to believe that we can only have one without the other. I know that I heard someone say this once, and it was so good. It really hit home for me, was that the quality of our life and the quality of our challenges are all equal. So when we're 18 or 19, some of the biggest challenges might be, my boyfriend broke up with me, or I got a parking fine and it's $100. And
I've got no money for cocktails this weekend.
Exactly. I remember getting a parking fine and I was like, I'm going to have to go on a payment plan because this is like $100. I'm getting $200 a week. And so we always have problems. It's just that at certain stages and ages, our problems are more petty. They're less dramatic, but to us at that time, they might be very dramatic. As we get older, as we go through relationships, we become parents, we start having things happen around us, people pass away, all these different things happen. And so as we grow, life and the universe present us with higher quality, bigger problems and challenges. And so for me, when I've recently been just having some ups and downs, with a few different things, and at some times I felt like I would seriously be brought to my knees by these things. I felt like throwing the towel in. And so, you want to cry, you want to get angry, you want to yell, you want to feel sorry for yourself. We're all human, right? There's no one.
And it's okay to do that, right? Sometimes you have to pass that emotion out and call the bestie to have a whinge.
And you might need to order the pizza, drink the wine, do whatever it takes. You need to screenshot some really angry things and send them to your friends. We do all this. We're just as human as the next person. But I think the biggest thing is when you're presented with those challenges is to go, okay, well, what is going on here, and how do I get through this with some form of ability to grow? And when a challenge is happening, when someone does something to you or something happens, you really, for me, I think one of my biggest lessons lately is the higher quality problem. Well, okay, it's great I'm not dealing with the parking fines anymore, but these problems are still the same. So the question is, it doesn't matter whether it's the parking fine or it's a big relationship issue or it's someone's passed away or the job isn't working out or you've just got fired or you've got financial issues. Everything I'm telling you is something I've been through. We've all been through, right? It's more, well, I know I've got a problem. How do I now reverse engineer how to fix this problem and how to handle it best? And so for me, I think that number one, you've just got to recognize the normalness of having problems, and you've just got to let go of wanting things to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you agree, Kira? the more you talk about your issues, the more you realize everyone's got issues.
Yeah. And I think it's also giving up the idea that you're searching for happiness, that these challenges are in the way of your happiness, rather than knowing that that's available inside of you no matter what is happening on the outside at any given time.
Yeah. And that's something that we're conditioned to want, is just to have all the highs without the lows. Whereas when you can just accept these challenges are the better I get at enjoying all the greatness in my life, the more the universe is going to throw me challenge. It's got to equal out. You know, it's like you hear about people winning the lottery and then they just burn their money away. You can't have this huge high without having some sort of a low.
And I probably used to do that a lot, actually, Jess. Like, you and I are both Aries. We're probably a bit like, you know, similar in this way of like passion and excitement and feeling alive, and thinking that, you know, I'm always chasing this up. But then, you know, I would have these roller coaster dives after that. And, you know, life is about balance. And what I have learned, especially over the past couple of years in cultivating more inner peace within myself, is that finding that equilibrium is much more serving of myself and my future and my best self than craving these highs and you know, chasing happiness rather than just being.
Yeah. I speak to a lot of my clients and to my social media about this, and I have found that the more and more I've worked on myself, the more I've realized is that as a younger person, I was always chasing this thing, whether it was the weekend out or the better house or the better car or whatever it is. And then the more work that I've done on myself, and I see this happen with clients as well, is when you're chasing this something that's up here, that's like this pinnacle moment. You believe that when you get that, I remember I used to buy prize home tickets thinking like, if I just won the house, I would be fine. All I need is one house. Everything will be fine. I will float around in the house and
ever after.
It won't bother me. I won't have to work, you know, and obviously that's a naive way of thinking. But the more I feel the happiest is when I know that even if tomorrow I won a prize home or $1 million land in my bank account, I wouldn't feel overwhelmingly happy. Just as when something really stressful happens and life presents you with a like, fuck this moment, I just want to quit, you're able to just bring those two closer together, and you're able to go, I get this. This is what life is about. It isn't about extreme highs and extreme lows. It's about how I handle the highs and the lows. And so that represents to me becoming more emotionally stable. And often for me, something that I've really learnt to do really well is not react straight away, breathe. And so I spoke to you guys on Kira's call a little while ago about routines, and meditation is something that I have not mastered, but I do at least 15 or 20 minutes a day of just sitting and breathing and being present. And those tools help me when I have really, really hard times, because what I used to do is I used to respond. So I would yell, I would text people back really fast, I'd give them a piece of my mind. And none of those things serve me as a grown woman. Those things are just behaviors that we've learned and that we're now just replaying. And we're just like, this is my comfort zone. I'll just keep doing the same shit and I'll expect a different result. And I'll keep questioning why something else isn't showing up. And so I know we're going to kind of talk about like some of the good questions you can ask yourself. And one of the things that I've really learned in the last couple of weeks is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how big is my problem? So the parking fine, maybe a 2. A relationship breakdown, maybe a 10. Someone's really unwell in your family, maybe a 10. Financial stuff, maybe a 5 or a 7. But number one, it's asking yourself, well, how big is this problem? Let's gauge how much time and effort needs to be put into this. And then second to that is, what's the root cause of the problem? So where is this coming from? And I actually remember, I believe it was Scott Harris who said this years ago, and I've never forgotten it. Having a problem and not getting to the root cause of it is the biggest part of the problem. So it's like there being a puddle on the ground, and you walk into your house and there's a puddle of water on the ground and you're like, I don't know where that puddle's come from. I'll just clean it up. And then the next day the puddle reappears and you're looking up and you're like, there's no leak. Where the fuck is this puddle coming from? So without knowing the root cause, all you're doing is cleaning up mess without actually getting to the problem, without actually assessing where your mindset's at, without assessing, okay, I need to figure out the cause. I need to figure out why this keeps happening. So if we use the parking fine as an issue, why does it keep happening? Because I'm unprepared, because I don't have a credit card with available funds on it, because I don't carry change around, because I haven't set an alarm on my phone to go back and pay the meter again. It's really simple to figure out the cause, right? So that's a really easy analogy. Whereas if it's an argument or if it's something that's coming up in your life, 95% of the time, it is a matter of looking in the mirror, just like the parking fine. It's the same thing. The root cause has always got to do with us. And that really sucks. Trust me, when I've had my hard times, when I've had, I've had those moments where I felt like I'm just going to be brought to my knees and there's nothing I can do to fix these things. And there's just too much happening, family dramas, this, that, arguments with hubby, all the different things we go through. And you just go, this is all out of my control. This is not me. This is them. And that is honestly the worst thing you can do, because the root cause 95% of the time is us and how we respond to it. So,
and even if it's not, right, let's just say you're going about your merry way and someone genuinely, something's happening outside of you, you still have the power to control your emotional state. And what Jess is sharing, the things that help her to be resourceful, things like meditation, that's how you get to take back your power, control your emotional state, and not be shifted by what's happening on the outside. And you never master this 100%, but even a couple of weeks ago, Jess and I had been at a personal development course all week and we were emotionally exhausted, and there was stuff happening in my external world, and I was so exhausted that I was letting that control my emotional state. And then I finally went and did some yoga, just one yoga class and a bit of meditation, and it's like the clouds just cleared and I was just immediately resourceful and centered again within myself. And it just reminded me yet again how powerful these tools are for us to be in our most grounded, centered self, for, our reality to make more sense to us so that we can respond in much more resourced ways.
Yeah. And so for me, the meditation, what it has done for me, it's allowed me to realize that, like, the simple thing of breathing and just being present in not what could happen, not what has happened, but what is happening right now is just such a powerful tool. And
because the pain isn't in the now, the pain is just you thinking about what's happened or what could happen, right? Like, even now, like if I think about, well, what does it mean to be an independent mum? Like, I can go into all of this fear, or I can just focus on the fact that life is pretty freaking amazing right now and just be present to the awesomeness of life right now and the gifts that are here right now.
Yeah, and I think that really does come down to you having those quality questions that you can ask yourself. And yes, like you said at the start, that phrase of like asking yourself quality questions, it gets thrown around a bit, but the truth is that it's been one of the biggest things that have helped me to transform the way I respond to things. And when I was saying before, most of the time we really have to look in the mirror. The thing is we get to respond that's our decision. We can't, unfortunately, control what other people do. If we could, wouldn't life be grand? We could just get everything sorted and everyone would treat us the way we wanted, but it just doesn't happen that way. And so, the questions like, how big is the problem? And then assessing the root cause. And then one thing that I always ask myself now, I didn't used to do this years ago, but now that I've practiced and I've had lots of challenge thrown at me, and I've realized that the way I used to handle things was not serving me, is what can I do now that serves me? Not in 2 months or in a week, like right now. And so when you're going through something very stressful, I know that for me, my immediate thing is I want to yell, I want to abuse somebody, I want to get angry, I want to go That's what I want to do. But I know that will not physically serve me. It might be good for like 5 to 10 minutes, but what that will do is it will, number one, make me wake up the next day with the same problems. It won't serve my mental state, and it won't have helped the problem go away because the problem will still be present. So what serves me is a really good question. And then what is my ultimate outcome? So when I was having some issues a couple of weeks ago, I was like, you know what, I need to ask myself, what is my ultimate outcome here? And again, that all comes back to the reverse engineering of something. And most of the time, no matter what you're actually going through, it's kind of irrelevant because, again, when we start this conversation, everyone is going through something. The likelihood that you will experience what Kira and I have in some way, shape or form, or something similar, we're all going to have something awful that happens, We've been nearly bankrupt. We've had miscarriages. We've had sudden deaths in our family. We've had illness. We've had gambling addiction. We've had drug addiction in our families, like in our extended family. We've had people steal from us. We've had fights between me and Ryan. We've had parenting issues. We've had friendship issues. We've had it all, we all do. And I think that, so it doesn't really matter what the issue is. The real thing is asking yourself, well, what is my ultimate outcome? And for me, most of the time, the answer is no matter what happens, I want to be happy, healthy, and I want to be doing the best thing for my kids. I want to be setting the best example. And so then you go, well, what can I do now that serves me in that space? Which is not to react and respond, which is not to get angry, which is, yes, you might need to cry every so often, but the thing is that you can work this tool like a muscle. And that's kind of my biggest advice. I
just want to pinpoint what you just said, because it's so tempting to get angry and to react and to feel like almost that's the payback to whatever's happened to you. But the truth is you just hurt yourself more in that moment. Like, I can't think of one time where I've reacted or lashed out or yelled or sent the text message where it's actually benefited me in the future. And so when you're looking after your best interest, which should be that higher purpose really in the moment, is loving yourself first, the reacting isn't serving you or the person that you love, if it's an argument, let's say. And so it's the wiser you become around that, the more inner pause you're able to cultivate, the better equipped you are to make choices in the moment that are going to serve a higher purpose in time to come.
100%. And a lot of people probably or could be thinking, well, that's easy for you to say because you've probably got more time alone to go through those thoughts, or like, and I've thought about all these things and I've thought, yes, I am grateful that I have lots of really good friends around me and I've got people that really can help and keep me accountable to those things. But one of the easiest ways I've found, and this has been only something I've started to do recently, but I would call it journaling, but it's more like reflecting and documenting on things. So whenever I've been in a really big argument or we've had some stress with our external family of late, and those things, what's the outcome? The ultimate outcome is that everyone ends up with a good result. It's, yes, you can be angry at people, but we really just want everyone to be happy, right? Like whether it's a family member you dislike or whether it's a job or whatever it is, normally the outcome is we just want everyone to be happy and we just want to exit this challenge with grace and with integrity, and knowing that you've done your best job. So I've found it really helpful to start documenting things or reflecting on things. So when I'm in an argument or when I'm feeling a certain way, I will write things down, whether it's in my phone or on a piece of paper, to say, on this day, this happened and I was feeling really hyped up. But by the next day, for example, a lot of your emotions have cooled down. A lot of things change and shift with a good night's sleep or with a yoga session or with a meditation.
And most of them you won't even remember a year from now, yet we put so much energy into them.
Yeah. And what tends to happen is when you write things down, it number one, it helps you breathe. It helps you take time for yourself. it helps you not then go and be crazy to the people around you. And they might be acting a million times worse than you, but it never serves you to lower or to get to their level or to fight fire with fire. It always serves you to go inward and do what you need for you. And whether it's a job that's about to finish, or you're getting fired, or it's a relationship breakdown, or it's a family member, whether it works or it doesn't work, you know that you've stood in and you've behaved in a way that you can be proud of, right? And so I found it really good to do that. And what it's done for me is it's helped me to uncover some answers that I couldn't uncover when I was in an emotional state. So writing down, reflecting, journaling, sometimes like you'll read it the next day and you'll be like, wow, when I was in that emotional state, I was not being resourceful. I was not speaking my truth. I was just responding and reacting in a way that wasn't really me. So it also helps you recognize patterns that you might do. So I know that when I journal, I ask myself, like, what's the real truth here? Another great quality question. What's the real truth? What am I in control of? Who's in charge of me right now? You know, and a lot of the time this stuff sounds really simple, but trust me, you know, when you watch something like this, I'm guilty of this. You know, I used to watch stuff on YouTube and motivational stuff, and I'd be like, that sounds good, but I would never try it for myself. I would just hear it and then I would just forget about it. So all I would like to really kind of encourage you to do is, if the next time you are going through something, even if it's a parenting challenge, like you just feel like your child is just being a little shit, or they've done something or they've said something. I mean, I've got a 7-year-old and she said to me the other day, I want you to stop controlling me. And I was like, what? You're 7? Like, how can you say that to me? And like, I wanted to explode. But then I went to writing down, I went to journaling, I went to the place of quality questions. What's my ultimate outcome? I want a little girl that communicates with me. And so in the end, I was proud of her for saying that, because it would have been worse if she had said nothing and felt so frustrated that she went and acted out at school, right? So again, you only need like 2 or 3 simple tools that can transform the way and these challenges. And if you see challenge and you exchange the word for opportunity to grow is a really great gift. And so every time I have something recently, I'm like this. I actually said it to one of my girlfriends the other night. I said, you know, everything that's been going on for me, I saw it as a challenge, but now I've just seen it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow, and it's an opportunity to share. And how grateful am I that I can be here and have had to go through some shit, because that can maybe help one person deal with something better than, thank God I had to go through it, you know?
And I think it's hard to see it in the moment, but, you know, I've had a few other really significant challenges in my life, and every single one of them I've been grateful for in hindsight, massively grateful for, would not change a single thing because of where it led me and the growth that occurred because of it, and who I met because of it, and what happened in my life. And I think that's what's really served me through this past 12 months is, although I didn't imagine my life being where it is, perhaps I just couldn't imagine where it is that I'm going yet. And I really have full faith that the universe is working for me, and it's given me strength and courage to face the fear of moving into the unknown, because I know that this is just another opportunity, like you said, opportunity rather than challenge, that I'm going to look back on someday and see that it served me entirely. Like there was nothing about it that didn't serve me.
Yeah. And one other thing that I found really helpful is, when you're going through a challenging time, is to really, like, when you get down to it and you start writing and you start journaling and you start reflecting, is to really say, well, this might be showing up here, but where do I now find where the things I believe are not here are showing up somewhere else? And so, you know, whenever I have ever had a real challenge in my life, my mum has always been someone who has come to, maybe not to the rescue, but who has stepped up and reminded me that she's there. It might be a best friend. I know that Kira and I are great support for each other. You're always going to have something show up. So just like we were talking about at the beginning, not expecting that the good's going to come without the bad. is really looking for where this challenge has opened another door, or where, and again, this all comes back to being aware of it and to just going, I can yell, I can scream, I can cry, I can feel like the world is caving in, or I can really get empowered. I can ask myself 2 to 3 simple questions and physically write down the answers. I guarantee you, if you do it the next time you're upset, message us, tell us, because you will find that it works. It 100% works. Because it takes so much more energy to hold on to something and to carry, like, even when I talk about things that are not positive, I can feel it in my chest. Like, I can feel the tightness. I can feel that. And it's not healthy for your body to be going through stress that you can control, because that's the truth of it, right? Unless you're in an abusive relationship or something, and that's another story. You know, you want to exit those types of things. But the general challenges that come up, we can control our physical response. Maybe not immediately. Maybe it takes an hour to have the emotion, but down the track, long term, you just keep getting better and better at this stuff. It 100% works, because you know that the energy to carry this stuff is just, it's heavy. It's like a weight. It's like putting on a backpack and going, I'm good with all this shit. I'm just going to carry it with me everywhere. Like, anyone who's had a little baby with one of those things on the front, like I was at the markets on Sunday with a bloody 15-kilo baby strapped to the front of me. And it was so funny because someone said to me, he must be too big for that thing now. And I was like, well, look, he wants to be in there. But I don't know why, but I immediately thought, that's so similar. I was puffed and I was hot and bothered. And I was like, this is exactly like carrying emotional baggage. It's just, there's no point when we are in a society, when we're in a world where you can just get a piece of paper and write down some things and you can start clearing out the energy.
I honestly think, though, Jess, that most people don't know what it feels like to feel so free of that BS.
Yes.
You know, like, and I mean, I've done a lot of work over the years, but it really, the last 12 months, I've felt freer than ever, being able to just working with different coaches to move through some different stuff. And it's like, it's so exhilarating. Like, I can breathe and I can be myself and I can experience joy just by being, without needing events around me to align, or, you know, it's just, it's something, it's hard to explain. It's just being in that beautiful state that I talk about so much, and just cultivating that inner peace. But I think people are addicted to their stories and their emotional baggage because it's all that they know. And I think when you realize there's another way and that that's a choice, then, and you start doing the work and you start feeling better and getting more resourceful bit by bit, it does become addictive, and, you know, you kind of strive for more and more of that.
Yeah. And just knowing that deep down, the universe wants you to shine. Like, the universe only responds to you in ways that where you're ready to accept things, right? So if you're a really negative person and you're continually tripping over curbs and getting parking fines and people are up in your business annoying you, it's probably because the universe is like, this is all this person can take. Whereas the more you shine and the more you grow and the more you say, I'm showing up for me, I've heard something and I'm going to give this a try, the universe will start to be more graceful with the way it then provides for you. And I think that sometimes when we're having hard times, we do just feel like everybody is against us. We get in a place of despair. You know, I remember waking up a week or so ago, and I felt so ungrateful. Like, I wasn't grateful for anything. And I was just like, I was looking at my kids and being ungrateful. I was looking at everything around me and I was just be happening. I'm better than this and I'm worth more than this. And instantly I was like, this is a terrible way of thinking and I need to snap out of this, because getting into that state is like a snowball effect. And likewise, if you are relating to me saying that, like, one thing happens, the next things happen, it's equally the same when you respond in the most clear, certain way, with lots of compassion and love for the people that are potentially causing you stress. And you just go, I've got control of this. you will find that the snowball effect happens in a positive way just as it does in the negative. So, you know, and the other thing that I just wanted to kind of really point out is that asking for help is really a sign of strength. So if you need help, if you need someone to call you on your bullshit, if you're having a hard day, don't go to people that are not going to help you. Find someone to help you. Go and get, you know, a counselor or a coach, or watch something on YouTube, or do something, because I think that a lot of people are conditioned to keep all their shit packaged up and quiet. And I see it as a sign of strength when people ask for help. I see that as cool, you're owning it, because again, we've all got it, right? There's no shame in having things that are hard exist in life. I think the biggest travesty is when people hide it. When, you know, when someone says, how's things? And you're like, it's perfect, everything's going so great, versus, you know what, this week's been a bit of up and down. Because people can be more aware and are more open around you if you're that way as well. Not pity party, but just
the difference. It's important to share. You know, there's there's people on social media, for example, who every second post is FML, you know, F my life,
yeah,
you know, boohoo for me, constantly. And you know, and perhaps they probably have friends that they surround themselves with that when they catch up, they're just all complaining about how bad life is and almost competing for who's, you know, having more crap happening in their life, which is probably the low quality problems anyway, right? Parking fines and that kind of thing. Versus, you know, I know you and I share about some of our challenges on social media, but hopefully in a way that we are expressing the gifts that come through that and the growth that occurs because of that. And, you know, it is important to ask for help. It is important to be vulnerable and real and share your challenges, but you can do this in a resourceful way. You can do this in a positive way. And I would definitely say, you know, not only look for those friendships that are going to hold you accountable, that are going to let you blow off steam and have a whinge to get the frustration out, because I think that's really important. Sometimes you do just need to talk to get it out, but who are then going to hold you accountable to say, okay, Kira, that's enough complaining now. You've got it out. How are we going to respond resourcefully? How are we going to move forward? How are you going to grow through this? And then, you know, coaches and mentors, I really think that it would have taken a significantly longer time to emotionally move through the dramas of this year if I didn't seek out professional support to help me just process things really quickly and cleanly. You know, it hasn't been, you know, the cleanest break. Obviously, there's ups and downs and things continue to come up. But I just feel so incredibly strong and resourced because I have people who have my back. I know who I can pick up the phone to in friends and in mentors, you know, if I'm having a down moment, if I'm feeling unresourceful. And, you know, even if I'm having an unresourceful moment where I feel like I don't know how to respond or I'm going to respond negatively, I've got those people I can check in with before I do anything crazy that help me just work through things. So highly recommend that you know who your support team is in life, definitely.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I just thought of there is more saying around like asking for help being a sign of strength, is that I think some people have this mentality around like if they're going through a hard time and they're reaching breaking point, then they've got to go see a psychologist or they've got to go fix this problem, and they feel like they've failed by getting to the point of needing help. Whereas I see having help around you as a sign of success. So
it's a tool for your success, right? Like we wouldn't be where we are without.
Scary to, like, I mean, I'm a coach and a mentor. You're a mentor. Like
every successful person I know has a coach of some form.
If not a few. Like why stop at one? Like, you know, we hire PTs, we hire people, we get help around nutrition, we get help around our mindset, we get help around the house. It's good to ask for help, right? And I definitely just feel like it's important to say, if you feel like you're at a point like that, be proud to go out and get help. And I don't mean help as in just, it's not help, it's have support. Have people around you that have really got some strong tools and techniques for you.
Actually, another thing that I wanted to share on that is, you know, obviously when you go through relationship breakdown and you have children, there's going to be some emotional challenges that come up for the children that they may not express to you, that you may not plan for, that you may not know how to deal with. And even though my girls have seemed very happy and they have so much love and support and connection from both Adam and myself, I went and sought help because I was just unsure of how to navigate this in the most resourceful way to have the least impact possible on them emotionally. And I'm just so incredibly glad that I did. And I'm actually going to have this amazing woman come on and share some of her parenting tips. And I think you guys are going to absolutely love her. But again, just seeking out that professional support, because even though I feel like I'm a conscious parent, even though I do a lot of the research, I didn't always have the tools or the words, or it just wasn't sure how to move forward on some certain things. And she gave me so much clarity, she gave me so much confidence in myself as a mother and what I was providing, and just peace of mind, I think. And she's been an incredible outlet for my girls and space for them to share their emotions and to work through some things as well. So I think no matter what area of your life you might be experiencing challenge in, like Jess said, don't be afraid to seek professional advice and support so that you can deal with it in the most effective way.
Because it holds you accountable as well. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. And like what we were talking about at the beginning is that a lot of the time what goes on for us, it really is ourselves and our own behavior that we have to be accountable to. So, by talking about it, by admitting and going, yeah, I'm having a hard time, what it does is it holds you accountable to your actions. So I can say to somebody, look, I know I've harped on about this enough, but now if I get on the complaining train again, or down the rabbit hole and bitching and moaning, just stop me in my tracks if I keep repeating the same thing over and over again, or check in on me when I'm doing these behaviors that aren't serving me. Like, that is the kind of constructive stuff that can come out of doing that, because you've got accountability then. And I know
just freeing yourself of that negative emotion. Like, you could carry this for years, you could carry your challenge for years, or you could just deal with it, right? Just get it dealt with so you can move on to another quality problem.
Yeah. And then just remember, guys, I suppose as a parting thing is, like, these tools are worth writing down and trying. Don't just watch this and then not try them, not utilize what you're learning, because then the next time a challenge comes up, trust me, it will be probably a little bit bigger and a little bit better. And so you need to hone in on the skills you're learning and go, okay, because again, that it will continually happen throughout our whole life. There will always be challenge, especially if you're a parent. Like, our kids are just changing and growing up and presenting us with new things. I was having a dream about something the other night, and Scarlett was in high school and she was basically behaving like I was as a young adult, and I was scared because I was like, oh my gosh, these life challenges are never ever going to end. So just equip yourself. That's what it's all about, right? It's just equipping yourself with tools.
And I think probably the same challenge is just going to come up over and over again until you learn whatever lesson the universe is trying to throw your way, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So, like, we're sharing weekly the different tools and resources that we use that help empower us as women. We've talked about mission statements, which you can watch the training on, journaling, our health routine. Like, there's so many ways that you get to empower yourself into your most resourceful state every day. And I think, that's part of loving yourself, it's loving yourself enough to take care of you first, your mental health, your physical health, and, being willing to work on your BS. I think probably the biggest power you ever have is, like I said, you get to be in control of your emotional state. So take that power back, but also being able to forgive yourself and being able to let go of things that don't serve you, because continually feeling guilty over things that happened in the past are just going to continue to imprison you in that moment and keep you stagnant from becoming the best version of you and the freest version of you, which, is just an incredibly beautiful place to be. So I hope that was helpful. You can go and follow Jess on Facebook, on Instagram. Please share and tag us if you loved this chat today, and let us know in the comments what you'd like to hear more of in the future. You can join, I've got the links at the top where you can go and subscribe to the YouTube channel or join the Empowered Women's group where you can stay up to date with all of this stuff. Is there any last words of wisdom that you wanted to share, Jess?
Look, I think what you just finished with was awesome. But yes, I really think that the biggest thing, well, look, I nearly touched on it, but the biggest thing is that when you have an issue, you only get to control your emotional state. But the more you get in control of that, the more you will be able to move forward without judgment, without comparison, without all these things. And that is where you just, and even when I say it, I can feel my energy shifting, because it's like you're thinking about good stuff, just that energy flows through you. That is where, when you get to that state of, a state of love and compassion, and a state where you just accept everyone's having issues and we're all the same, and you can just be that person that you always dreamt you wanted to be and show up that way. It all comes down to your thoughts. It all comes down to your action. It all comes down to what you're willing to do today to make things better. It's easy.
Yeah. And to add that as well is because people ask this all the time, but what about this person? And this person doesn't want to grow with me. And what about, this person doing this? Is that exactly what you just shared? You actually become an influencer. Your energy, when you control your emotional state, a rising tide lifts all boats, as they say. So without telling or convincing or teaching, you being your best self does influence others. So you just focus on you, become more flexible and curious rather than judgmental is definitely something that I really try and focus on. Flexible in your thinking, curious about other people's behavior, non-judgmental. You can only control you, so focus on your own shit and do the work on yourself, and you will influence your children, your partner, your friends, your environment, your working environment, and that's all you can control at the end of the day. So that's what you want to focus on.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time again, and we hope you guys have the most incredible day ever, and we'll see you again soon.
See you guys.
Thanks, Jess.
Bye. No worries.
Bye.